Welcome to a play-by-play review. I'm your host, Henry, and to answer the question of why is Xenoblade Chronicles X my favorite game of all time, it's really just because it is so incredibly fun. So that'll do it for this episode. If you liked it, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find my podcast on there. It's Henry the Host, all one word. And thank you very much for listening. If I got any one of you with that fake out, I'll be very happy. It's a really dumb joke, but I do like me some dumb jokes on occasion. But yeah, and in all seriousness, Xenoblade Chronicles X is my favorite game of all time. It has been ever since the original came out back in 2015 for the Wii U. And it has remained that way, even with the release of Definitive Edition for the Switch and the Switch 2 that came out actually almost exactly a year ago. I was not planning on this whatsoever, but said the Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, which is a re-release of the game, updated graphics, some new mechanics and stuff, a lot of quality of life changes, a new additional story chapter as well, sort of like epilogue-ish chapter got added. It got released on March 20th, 2025. I'm recording this on March 22nd, 2026. So unintentionally a year, almost exactly to the day later. I, for some reason, had thought it in my mind that it was released in like late April, not late March. So yeah, anyway, even with the re-release of Definitive Edition, which is better, I think it is better than the original game, though some changes are not as good, but overall it's still good. It is stood the test of time and is still my favorite game of all time, despite, the release of subsequent even Xenoblade Chronicles games, which are also really good. And just the myriad of games that have released since, this game still stands above all, just for me personally, being my favorite. And I think it is just a fantastic game all around. And I'll go over, basically this episode is going to be me raving about the game. I will spoil a lot of stuff related to the game and just kind of the Xenoblade Chronicles series as a whole on a few things here and there. I would highly, 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 highly recommend you play these games. All four of the Xenoblade Chronicles games are insanely good, and they're great. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, full spoiler warning here. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to spoil, but there will be various spoilers ahead for definitely Xenoblade X, maybe another game or two, depending on how much I contextualize. But anyway, for those who have no idea what I'm talking about, Xenoblade Chronicles X is a video game developed by Monolith Soft. They're a company that works now primarily for Nintendo. They've actually helped a lot with stuff like, I think, Pokemon Legends Arceus. I know they helped with Breath of the Wild. They've helped with a ton of stuff. I think the Splatoon games as well, and like Animal Crossing New Horizons. They put in some insane work, but they are primarily known for their Xeno series type of games. So they started out with the Xenogears game, which is for the original PlayStation. Then the Xenosaga trilogy, which is sort of a spiritual successor. I think Xenogears is actually developed by Square Enix, or I guess maybe just Squaresoft. There's like multiple different Squares, so I think it's not Square Enix, but Square something. But the guys behind the Final Fantasy series and like Kingdom Hearts and whatnot, and like a lot of the staff from Square went and formed Monolith Soft. They made the Xenosaga series for the PS2. I played a tiny bit of the first one, and I need to go back and play more of that because they're interesting. But then eventually they split off and they stopped partnering with PlayStation. They went over to Nintendo and developed around 2010 Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, which was actually originally supposed to just be released in Japan. There is a whole thing with trying to get it released in North America and Europe. I think it might have actually just been North America for some. I don't know why they didn't release it, but it like took until the next year. There's a whole thing called Operation Rainfall, which is like a fan campaign to like get Xenoblade. So Xenoblade Chronicles, The Last Story, and Pandora's Tower, which were not released in the U.S. to get them released in the U.S. And I don't know too much about The Last Story or Pandora's Tower, but the original Xenoblade eventually like went through. At least Xenoblade has been since released. It's very, very, very good game. Very like story based type of game. But overall, it's still really solid. And like I could rave about the original Xenoblade Chronicles on an entirely different episode. But anyway, so the Xenoblade Chronicles 1, since there's now a 2 and a 3 after that have been released since, that gets released in 2010. Then Xenoblade Chronicles X gets announced and released in 2015 for the Wii U. Xenoblade Chronicles 1 came out on the Wii, just for reference. And the release of X and how it is compared to the first one it was a bit controversial in the fandom. I was pretty new to the fandom at that point. I hadn't played Xenoblade 1, but I watched a Let's Play of it by Choco Conroy. He got me into the Xenoblade series, and I got Xenoblade X when it came out. But the Xenoblade X is a very different game from the entire Xenoblade Chronicles trilogy. It's like, even from just a like immediately you hear it. One of the kind of iconic things about the Xenoblade Chronicles trilogy, so Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3, is the British voice acting. So they I guess Nintendo of America, or just Nintendo in general, when they were localizing it to English, they hired voice actors from the like European sector, mainly like British Isles, essentially. Not necessarily all of Europe, but just like a lot of the British Isles. I don't know what exactly like type of office they have, but it's like someone I know, like the Elden Ring localizers, or at least like the voice acting direction for Elden Ring, use a lot of the same voice actors that have appeared in various Xenoblade games. So I think it's like that sort of same guild, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, the British voice acting essentially is, to sum it all up, is very iconic for the series. Like even dating back to the first one, like Shulk's voice is very British and whatnot. Anyway, so Xenoblade Chronicles X comes out, and it is not British voice acting. It is American. And there's actually a reason for that. So like, there's no real reason that they went with British voice acting for Xenoblade Chronicles. Or I'm just going to go Xenoblade 1 because it makes it easier. But yeah, I don't know why they decided to go with that. It's fun. I like it a lot. But for Xenoblade X, that's actually okay, so actually, first, let me step back one more time just to get through the context here. So Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is kind of like fantasy with a little bit of like science to it. Like overall, it's more fantastical rather than like sci-fi or anything like that. Like you got some characters with guns and stuff, but there's a lot more like sword based, a lot more just like fictional races, and like just a bit more something you'd see more so in a like maybe more so like in a D&D campaign rather than, in a Star Wars spinoff, something like that. That's kind of what Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is. And the whole Xenoblade trilogy is more so in that like leans a bit more into the fantasy vibe rather than the sci-fi vibe, compared to like those two genres. But they do it kind of borrows a bit from sci-fi here and there depending on the situation, especially towards the end of Xenoblade 1. I actually won't go into spoilers on that because I think you should go play that game. But there's a bit of sci-fi here and there in Xenoblade 1. Xenoblade X is full on sci-fi, like not unashamed sci-fi. It's also so like Xenoblade 1, it takes place on a completely separate world, sort of, but that's a story for another time. But it's like humans are called Homs. You're on the two giant Titan landmasses called the Bionis and the Mechonis that are like distinctly not Earth, not anything related to the real world, anything like that. At least for like how you start out. For Xenoblade X, it is like, this is Earth in the year like 20XX or whatever. Like it is sometime in the near future. It is Earth as we know it. Then it gets caught up in a war between two alien factions that are fighting over Earth. That gets explained later as to why they're there. And then it's like there's humanity escapes on a bunch of ships, and then the ship the main cast is on gets attacked again, and then they crash land on an alien planet. To quote the battle theme song Black Tar, they're stuck on an alien planet. It's kind of a meme song, but yeah. So it's hard sci-fi. You got robots. You got the characters are robots. They're all mechanical puppets that they control because their brains or their bodies are they were left behind on Earth, but then their consciousness were uploaded to this giant supercomputer, and then there's a bunch of green DNA goo that can create new life and all that. It's kind of weird, but it's what you're fighting over in a sense. And yeah, you got mechs. You can eventually buy a mech. You can earn your driver's license for the mech, and it's really fun. Not the quest to get it there. That quest is kind of annoying, but actually getting your mech that's called a Skell. Skulls are really, really fun, and then you can eventually get an upgrade to make the Skulls fly. And yeah, it's just great. It's literally on the box art. You can see a giant mech. But yeah, you got guns. You got dual pistols. You got assault rifles. You got sniper rifles for some of your range classes. Then you got your regular long swords. You got beam swords. So you got lightsabers. Unashamed sci-fi, alien races all over the place, completely alien world. It's very, very, very different, essentially, is the long and short of it compared to the first game. So it was a bit controversial when it came out because it was not designed to be a sequel. It was sort of a spiritual successor. Keep some of the same gameplay styles and all that. You can see the Xenoblade Chronicles style in Xenoblade X. It's just, it is a very different game compared to the first one. And that definitely rubbed some people the wrong way. The story in Xenoblade Chronicles X is also a major step down compared to Xenoblade 1. That is, for as much as I do love the game, the story is not the best. It's overall just kind of fine. It's pretty simple, not super, it's not really deep. It's not really, doesn't challenge too much. It's kind of pretty standard, good guys, bad guys, fighting to, you go from, starting out of being stuck on the planet, you have no idea what's going on, and you're, exploring, then you meet some aliens, find that you're not the only intelligent life on the planet, and then the aliens don't like you for some reason, so then you got to figure it out. Then you explore more, and you fight some more aliens, then you get betrayed a little bit. It's a whole thing. But it's not nearly to the level of storytelling as Xenoblade 1 or really any of the Xenoblade trilogy that has come after. I guess Xenoblade 2 or 3 that has come after, essentially. But even still, I don't think that going into this game, you should be playing it for the story. If you want to play a Xenoblade game for the story, play any other of the three. Just play 1, 2, and 3 in that order because, that's how they go. Xenoblade X is more for the world, for the various quests that you can do. It honestly feels almost more like an MMO, kind of like a single player MMO in a sense. It is open world, completely open world. You can basically, after the initial starting quest to get you to New Los Angeles, which is the giant raft city that you land in. Getting from the area where you get broken out of the pod that you landed in, going from there to NLA. Basically, after that, and you get all settled in, you pretty much have free reign to go anywhere in the world that you are able to, that you can actually access on foot. There are basically no invisible walls. The entire map, which is absolutely massive, by the way, I think it's 60% water. So it's not fully, completely explorable and whatnot, but it's even still, between the 5 continents, there's so much to do. And you can basically go to all of it. If you want to swim or basically run and swim from NLA all the way up to the northern continent of Kaldros, where all the strong enemies are, you can do that. It'll take a half an hour to do so, but you can do it. Nothing's stopping you. But the story quests that kind of ease you into the later stuff will make it makes it easier to kind of slowly go around and explore. But still, the world is massive. It's divided into 5 separate continents, and as well as NLA. NLA is just kind of it's basically a small town, small city almost. It's got a commercial district. It's got a residential district, which is a suburbs basically. It's got a church in there. Then it's got an industrial district, which is kind of just various but a lot of shipping crates and then some other buildings. And then the administrative district, which is where you do most of your stuff because it's got your barracks where you chill out. Got some like shops and stuff that you spend a ton of time in. And then like Blade Tower, which is where you got to go. I won't go into like every detail of the game because that would take a while and I don't feel like listing off all the intricate details. So again, go play the game, please. It's really good. But anyway, the 5 regions, you got Primordia, which is your kind of like lush like fields and stuff. Got some like nice mountains here and there. Pretty open, pretty just kind of allows you to kind of go around and just explore, kind of get used to the world. You got Noctilum, which is kind of the second area, which is this like more foresty area, but it's like very very vibrant, very diverse, like ecologically diverse. So it's like, it's not just trees. It's like, there's a lot of wacky plants, a lot of bioluminescence, big old waterfall running through majority of it. I think my favorite thing is going from, there's like basically a small starting area where you go in and you actually basically spend like chapter 4, the first 3 chapters, story chapters are all in Primordia and it's like getting you in. And then the 4th one takes you over to Noctilum for the first time. And you kind of are relegated, or like it's contained to like this sort of like small area to start off, and there's still a ton of stuff to do in there. So it's like, it's not like there's nothing going on. Like you can see a big ganglion who are like the enemy alien faction. You can see one of their bases that's like nearby that has a ton of high level enemies. So you like, you can come back later for that. There's like this big like winding tree that you can find a waypoint at. Just a lot of stuff over there. But then, like, as you kind of go around in this big lake and there's a giant robot sitting in the middle of the lake down below, and you're, like, really curious, and then you go in and then you die to it because it's level 60. But, like, you go around that, but you can see that there's a lot more going up. And, like, if you decide to move up and keep going to, like, the main section of Noctilum, just, like, going across this big land bridge, essentially, and just kind of getting the view of like greater Noctilum is awesome. There's just so many moments where you're just walking through the landscape and it's like, this is so cool. I mean, even the opening shot, essentially, where basically Elma, who's sort of like the deuteragonist almost, like the player character is customizable. They're not like a set character. Most people in the fandom usually just call them cross because it's like, it's X and whatnot. And it works because it's gender neutral and because you can play as a male or female cross, however you want to do it. You can actually, anyway. But and Elma, who's like the lead Blade person, or Blade, which is like the organization that like the military organization essentially that you wind up joining. Elma's like she's like one of the members and she's really strong and all that. She's really cool. Voiced by Caitlin Glass too, who voices a number of things, including Winry Rockbell and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. But anyway, Elma like wakes you up and like she's the first person you see in the game. And like you're partnered with, she's your first party member essentially. And it's like after getting through the initial like combat tutorial essentially and walking out of the starting area, you get to like a little cliffside in Primordia and it's like it has a cutscene to like show off Primordia itself and like all the indigens, which are like, the roaming monsters essentially, but like basically just a lot of indigenous creatures is like, that's why they're called indigens. And it's just like flexing the fact that this world is awesome. And Primordia especially is really cool. You get the look of Talon Rock, which is just basically the giant like rock formation that is like towers into the air and it looks like a talon and it's like one of the tallest things in the game. It's just really cool. I could go on and on. And I will go on and on a little bit, but just to quickly go through. So Oblivia is the third area. It's over. So like if you're looking at Primordia as kind of like in the starting center, Noctilum is to the left of it, and then Oblivia is to the right of it instead. And so Oblivia is the desert region, but it's got like it's got a lot of enemy bases in it actually. And it's got like this big like bottomless pit in the middle of it. And then there's like giant like mechanical alien rings that are like ruins essentially. So you're just kind of wondering. And then it's got like a floating island in the back left that you gotta want to explore. Big old waterfall as well. Just a ton of stuff. Like even for a desert area, I think Oblivia is one of probably the weakest area overall, but I still love Oblivia. It's really cool. I just think like what it offers isn't like compared to the rest isn't as good. The fourth area, which is one you usually don't go to, story-wise you don't go to until chapter 9, which is interesting. And there's only 12 chapters in the base game, then 13 with Definitive Edition. But Sylvalum is cool where it's like also kind of a desert, but not really. It's weird. I don't really know how to describe it because it's basically all white. It's like pretty sandy, but there's also like a lake in the middle of it, and then a giant mountain range, and then there's a lot of plants that have bioluminescence to it. It's a very odd region, but really cool. I think Silva might be my favorite region. It's got a lot of really neat, like cool and strong enemies as well. And then there's like a lot of ganglion bases more towards the back of it. And it's just cool overall. And that one's like basically just straight ahead from Primordia. You basically would just keep running through it, and you eventually get to Silvam. It's like across a bit of a lake, or not like a bit of the ocean. You got to cross a bit of that as well. And then behind Silvam is Kaldros, which is the lava region, essentially. It's like a lot of lava, a lot of like fire and ash. So it's like stark, like complete different, like the complete opposite of Silvam, where Silvam is like very white, a little bit naturey, a little bit mysterious. And Kaldros is all black, all orange as well. Like Silvam is white and like kind of teal. Kaldros is black and orange, and it's like where all the ganglion like strongholds are. You got like a massive base in the center of it, which is like they repurposed from like a mysterious race that lived here prior to everyone. And yeah, it's like you got the entire sky is filled with ganglion mechs, so like you can't fly your skull around without getting into fights constantly. It's just really cool. It's a nice like end game quote unquote area where it's like you want more of a challenge, you go there compared to the easier areas of like Primordia, Noctilum, and Oblivia. But anyway, what I want to move on to next. Let me go move on to the combat, because this is one I actually want to talk about a bit about. So the combat in this game is really, really in depth. They're basically the customization and the amount of things you can do in this game is insane. Just their sheer depth to this game is awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I love it, because you can just keep playing it for so long. Like I have, I think between the two saves I had in whatchamacallit, in the original, the Wii U version, I think I had about 500 hours between the two, I want to say. And in my Definitive Edition save, I think I have about 150, 160 hours. So yeah, it's a lot. It's really good. And I still have not actually beaten the game in any of those saves. I'm still haven't quite gotten to beating the last super boss, the Telethia the Endbringer. I'm working on that in my current one. But anyway, just the sheer amount of things you can do is great, and combat is, I think, one of the best examples. And it's interesting, like playing this game again after 10 years, essentially, because I played, I just played through it when I first got it, and then I went back like probably a year or two later and did that second playthrough of the original, and then just didn't really touch it again for a while, because it was like I thought about going back to it, but it was like I played through it, 500 hours. It's like I was fine doing however much I did. I got my enjoyment out of it, and I could certainly go back and play it again. But I moved on to other stuff, and it's not like I didn't want to play it. It was just I had my fun with it, and I wasn't going to complain about it at all. But when the Definitive Edition got announced, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to play it again. we're doing this again, especially with all the new stuff. But it was anyway. The point I was getting to this is that my experiences, especially with the combat system, I think more than anything else, compared to when I first played it and when I replayed the game with Definitive Edition last year, and I'm still playing through it on occasion, even nowadays. But I got it this point last year, basically probably around this time last year, I'd still be playing it. Where there was basically like the 2 weeks after I got it, I would basically just wake up, go to work. I would basically wake up at noon, go to work from 1 to 7 or so, come home, play Xenoblade X till basically from the minute I got home till 2 in the morning, go to bed, rinse, repeat. That was my routine for 2 weeks straight until I beat the game. It was awesome. I loved it. But anyway, the combat it's so good. But my opinion of it has changed a bit compared to when I played it now compared to when I did the first time. since the first time when I played it was my first ever Xenoblade Chronicles game that I played. And so there's two main forms of combat. There's ground combat and skill combat. Essentially, ground combat is just using your character, playing more of a traditional Xenoblade style game. Skill combat is a slightly different, and it's you're piloting your mech with different arts and stuff. I won't go into like the full detail of how Xenoblade combat works because it's just it would take way too long to explain, and I wouldn't explain it well, and it does not work exactly and explain well. But anyway, when I initially played through X, I enjoyed skill combat a lot more than ground combat because it was a bit easier to do skill combat, and I think for me it was more fun, and it was like I'd rather play the big old mechs and stuff rather than the person. And while ground combat eventually does eclipse skill combat by the end, like by the end game, you are much stronger on the ground than in a skill, which is interesting, mainly due to one single mechanic, which I'll get to in just a sec. A lot of the end game builds were a bit tough to do, and the original Xenoblade Chronicles X, not the Definitive Edition, but the original one, was really grindy towards the end game to try and get the good stuff, like the good builds, the good skills, the good like everything, whatnot. Luckily, Xenoblade Definitive Edition made it a lot easier, like cut out a lot of the grindiness, which was awesome. I love that change because having to grind as much as you had to in a single player game was not exactly all that fun. So I'm glad they changed that. But anyway, so like original like going through it originally for the combat, I was definitely more of a fan of skills. Like I remember distinctly buying the like strongest skill essentially, or like there's like different classical. There's like light, medium, heavy. So it's like different play style essentially. I went with the heavy because I see big number, I do big damage. And the heavy skill, the Hamdusius, came with basically a giant sword on his shoulder. And it was basically a one-shot ability. Like it just does a ton of damage, has a slow wind-up, really long cooldown, costs a lot of fuel, but it just does a ton of damage. And I was just laughing maniacally because I could just go around and you like take it off your shoulder, and then like the attack animation is you're like basically walking up with your skill, jumping up and slamming the sword down on top of someone to like vertically bisect them. It's just the best animation ever. So it's just like I'm just laughing maniacally at like I don't know, it was like probably 15, 16 years old when I was doing it. I was like, this is the best thing ever. Just bonking someone on the head with a sword the size of like a school bus. It's so good. And then there's like the better one was finding out skill super weapons exist, and then finding one that was the antimatter rifle, which is just this ginormous gun, like railgun essentially, that shoots a one shot, like a big middle finger bullet that just does insane damage. And it's just the pinnacle of that sort of one shot mentality. And that was what I enjoyed. I enjoyed doing that. And like I eventually did get to like the end game builds for ground combat. So let me go over Overdrive real quick. So Overdrive is an ability you get after Chapter 5 in the main story. It makes ground combat insane because it's like it basically gives you a massive boost to the cooldown of your arts. So it's basically arts is like your main method of doing anything. There's like your character's auto attack, and this is true for all the Xenoblade games, not just Xenoblade X, but your characters have an auto attack, so they will just do minor amounts of damage in like while you wait for your arts to charge. In X, auto attacks are like the least useful compared to every other game. But the arts itself are where the magic happens. And like with the first Xenoblade game, you can have 8 arts on your arts palette at a time. You can have like each class there's like 8 classes with 2 different weapons. Each weapon has their own art attached to it. So there's 100 plus arts in the game. There's a ton. And so there's orange melee arts, yellow ranged arts, purple, which are debuff arts, green, which are buff arts, and then blue, which are auras. Auras are like better buffs that are usually only go to yourself, but they cost TP, which is the whole thing. Anyway, I'll stop there. But basically, what Overdrive does in Xenoblade X is that it supercharges the cooldown for your arts. They refresh a whole lot faster. They also get a tertiary cooldown. So normally they have they have a circular icon. They will go gray essentially when you use that, and then recharge essentially in like a little like pie graph that like slowly fills up. Then once they do, they will then have like a little green bar that circles around it to do a secondary cooldown. And if your secondary cooldown is active, then it'll have a bonus effect. So it rewards patience essentially. So it's like the combat is actually very strategic, which is cool. And then Overdrive on top of that will add a tertiary cooldown, which adds more effects. Then with Overdrive itself, you can boost an Overdrive count. So it's like 1 to 99. And the more count you have, basically the higher the scaling does. So like you'll do like better cooldown, better effects, better damage as well. Basically just more Overdrive equals gooder damage to say it like that. And then there's different ways to extend the Overdrive as well, because it normally lasts for like, I think in the original game, it only lasted like 10 seconds. Or no, maybe not 10 seconds, but it lasted a shorter time than they buffed that, like the initial base time in Definitive Edition by a little bit to make Overdrive easier. They also added a flow chart in Definitive Edition to kind of show some of the basics, which was really helpful as well, because for as cool as Overdrive was, it was explained really, really poorly in the base game. The tutorials were not the best, and they got even worse in Xenoblade 2. But they got better in Definitive Edition, but by now you can just look up guys. Like if you look up Enel on YouTube, he's the Xenoblade YouTube guy, and he has a really good tutorial on how Overdrive works and like how to build like anything in that game in terms of like creating character builds with your weapons and stuff. But anyway, I'm eventually trying to get around to some of my points here of this, but a lot of stuff I can go around. Anyway, Overdrive is what it does is that the scaling for Overdrive gets absurd in the end game. So the builds you can have around that can just completely outclasses even the best of skills essentially. So to loop back around, I only ever got to like one of the sort of basic end game builds of the like either Blossom Dance build on the broadsword, which is basically like, it's a really good build, like really simple, really effective. But there's builds that are like slightly better, but it's the easiest one to do for getting like infinite overdrive, infinite invincibility, and doing a ton of damage at the same time. That's usually the goal for a lot of these endgame builds, is to get full invulnerability because the damage can get insane, and then just doing a ton of damage as well, and having overdrive go on infinitely. And the Blossom Dance build was like the standard one because it's really easy to get. So I got around to that, and it was fun, but I still enjoyed skill combat at the time. Replaying the game, however, to finally actually get to my point after like 5 minutes of context. But anyway, replaying the game, my opinion has changed a little bit. Skill combat is still very fun. But I think like playing through the game this time, I was definitely like, and even when I did my first replay back in the day, like knowing kind of how things work made things a bit or very easy for a lot of the time. Like a lot of early stuff was a bit easy to do. And it was interesting playing through Definitive Edition, because this has now been after I played through the trilogy. Because before I hadn't. That was the first Xenoblade Chronicles game I played. So the first time I was getting used to the combat. Now going back to it, I've played through all the Xenoblade games. I technically haven't beaten Xenoblade Chronicles 1. I never actually wound up beating the final boss in that, but I watched the playthrough and whatnot, and I got to basically everything else in that game. I played through most of Future Connected. I beat Xenoblade 2 multiple times, and played through a bit of Torna. Actually, never finished Torna either, but yeah, I played through all of Xenoblade 2. It's my second favorite, just pretty close after X, but I still put X a little bit above 2, but I love 2. It's really good. And then I played through all of Xenoblade 3 as well, and Future Redeemed. So I've experiencing all of those combat systems, and Xenoblade 2 and 3, their combat systems are a lot more in line with the first game rather than Xenoblade X. And those combat systems are great. I think between those three, I like Xenoblade 2's combat the most, but all three of them are great. And so it was interesting going back to Xenoblade X after all of that and playing through it again, especially in the early game. where the combat reminded me a lot more of the trilogy, because that's kind of how, ground combat, they don't have skull combat obviously in the trilogy. And the like insane scaling of overdrive in the late game is not present either. Like you can definitely get some insane builds in some of the other games, but it's not to the level of Xenoblade X. Like the ramp up in power in Xenoblade X is like one of those exponential graphs that goes really quickly, really fast. It just goes insane. And I was like, by the time I got to later chapters, like after I unlocked overdrive, after I unlocked skills and whatnot, I was kind of missing the combat a little bit from the early games. I think a part of it, the biggest part of it, in my opinion, is that party members basically become redundant by like basically by the time you get skills, because you can just put them in skills and they'll be fine. Or you can have a skill, and most of the time combat is like, especially if you know what you're doing. And this certainly is for me, because I knew exactly what I was doing when I was going in this, because of my third playthrough from when I was doing Definitive Edition. So like I never really struggled. I've struggled very few times in combat, unless I was trying to fight an enemy that I was like way out of my league. Like none of the story fights were hard. I was usually over level going into it anyway, but like none of the side quest fights were hard. Most of the time the difficulty would come from either the like intentionally difficult tyrants, the like unique bosses essentially, or just trying to fight an enemy that's like 15 levels above me, but I like want to get some gear from them or something. So when I was playing through it, and like getting through the first couple chapters, basically before I got overdrive, like I was trying out a completely different build than what I'd usually done the first time. Like I was going with the like sniper rifle lance build, which is like something I never used in the original. I used like I went the broadsword assault rifle class to start, and then I for my first one for most of the playthrough. Then I went with the laser sword ray gun build, or like the laser sword ray gun class, not the build. For my second one, I went with the lance sniper rifle class for this one, because I want to do something completely different. And you can eventually, once you kind of max out one class tree, you can go back and do another one to get all the weapons eventually. Just for an explanation there. But I was really enjoying a bit more of the simplistic combat. And it was definitely like, I was missing, like, I love the party dynamic. And this is one point, like one of the big reasons why I even want to do this episode is to praise so much this one mechanic in the game that I'm sad they never brought back. And that is the soul voice mechanic. So basically what the soul voice is that it's a sort of additional buff that happens occasionally, or an additional opportunity for a buff that you can do during the course of battle. So one thing that's very common in the Xenoblade games is that characters talk a lot during combat. A lot of times it's usually just calling out their arts attacks. Like every time you use an art, they will call their attack as, very anime-like and whatnot. Xenoblade X pumps it up to a whole nother level with the soul voices. Basically what it happens is that depending on your morale level, which is this like small mechanic that's basically like, if you're doing better in a battle, you can get more morale. You can bump it up with these things called soul voice challenges, which is basically the very obvious when it happens is this big old ring with like a B button prompt, and you have to press it in time. And when you do, you get more morale essentially. It's like a little bar on the bottom. There's like 3 different levels to it. But anyway, with basically the more morale you have, the more soul voice opportunities that occur. And when it does, a character will basically call out and they have a list of prompts on the character screen. It's like 7 or 8 or so. And they'll basically have it be like, basically it boils down to use this type of art. So it's like they'll do it and it's like, use a melee art now, use a ranged art now, use a buff, use an aura, whatnot. And if you do that during the like 5 to 7 seconds you have, or it might be like 10 seconds for the window of opportunity, you'll get additional, I think your art will do more damage, or like be more effective. Essentially, you get some health back as well for the whole party. I think you get some more like TP as well. Basically, it's a good thing to do. And like it incentivizes being patient as well and being strategic with your arts choices. Because like, if you know what kind of soul voices your party has, you can kind of wait around and expect like kind of play around those soul voices to make combat go a bit smoother and go better. So that alone is really cool because it's just adds a little bit more dynamic action to the combat. What also I love about this is that soul voices are not just, hey, let's use just use a range dart. Like it's not just a flat line. All of the soul voices are tailored to the characters. And that I think is probably one of the best aspects of it because it just adds characterization to your party members, which I love so much. I like after having played through all these Xenoblade games, the party dynamics and just the characters in general, Monolith is very good at writing these characters. They're really good at making these characters fun to play with, or fun to play as, fun to play with, however you want to call it. And the soul voices just add. It's not a lot. It's not a ton. It's just a little bit of flavor, a little bit of characterization, because you just get a little bit of understanding of how all these characters act. When they're in the midst of battle, and it's perfect. I love it. The one of the more iconic ones, Elma, who's your starting party member, you'll usually use her a lot. You have to use her for story missions. So you'll hear her soul voices a lot. And it's if you do good damage, like in a big hit, to an enemy, she will say for her soul voice, that put a dent in him, move in and keep the rhythm going. And it's a prompt for a melee attack. And it's just it's simple. Each character, the soul voices feel tailored to them. You can get, there's one of the other characters, Arena. She is, another soldier type. She served actually under Elma, basically in the army, before the alien invasion and whatnot. So she still calls her Colonel, and she seems to be kind of not necessarily entirely straight laced, but definitely a disciplined soldier type of character. But in battle, a lot of her soul voice lines, she's very enthusiastic. She's oh hell yeah, let's move in and keep the pounding up or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's something along those lines. She's very energetic. She's definitely a bit more laid back, down to earth when she's in a fight. She's not just straight laced and whatnot. It's great. There's just the characterization in the soul voices and the ability, just what they add to the combat is, I think it is might be the best mechanic in the game. Just gonna throw that out there. I think it might be the best mechanic in the game. And I'm really sad Monolith never brought that back for 2 and 3. I hope they bring it back in some form again in the future, because it's just perfect for the combat system that they have. It's perfect. And it works so well for Xenoblade X. Just one of the many reasons I love the game. But anyway, to go back to why I kind of just my experience with combat in Definitive Edition is that everything that is about soul voices is a lot more useful in the early game when you are more dependent on your party and when combat's a bit slower and when you're having to be a lot more strategic with your arts uses, not in the sense of setting up for an infinite overdrive build or really just setting up in general. Because a lot of the late game stuff is setting up stuff for eventual big combo damage with your damaging arts. A lot of the early combat is actually using all of your arts at various points, all of your arts at various points when necessary. It's a lot more similar to the main trilogy, in the sense that you're not usually able to set up an instant one hit KO build or an infinite dodge build or anything like that. I know there's Naked Dunman in the first game, but it's late game combat in Xenoblade X is its own thing. It's very separate from even early game Xenoblade X combat. And I was kind of missing that when I hit the late game when playing through this time. I really enjoyed playing through chapters 2, 3, 4, even chapter 5, because you get overdrive at the end of that. And even after chapter 5, you can still, it doesn't quite ramp up until later on when the enemies get a lot stronger and when you kind of need to start looking to be a bit more especially by chapter 9, chapter 10, your party members really start to fall off because the AI is not the best at using their arts as they should. You can't have your AI you can build Elma close to what you can do with a a regular build. Like you can build the class that she has into like a sort of end game overdrive build with like an infinite dodge version, and like really do some insane damage. Like I actually wound up, after I got overdrive this time around, I wound up speccing her out and actually kind of creating a prototype build of it in like chapter 6 with her, and actually controlled her, because you can control other characters in the game. You don't have to just control Cross, and it worked. Actually, it was really nice, but it's just unfortunate. Like unfortunately, the AI just doesn't understand how to do that. Like it doesn't know the like specific combination of arts and like when to use them, which is unfortunate. So the AI party members do unfortunately fall off a bit later on. And that's why when you're like, if you watch any sort of late game like combat video in Xenoblade X, like you'll usually see them be solo, or if their party's around, and they're just not doing much. That's not to say they're completely useless. There's definitely certain builds and like certain like parts that your party can be useful. They're a lot more useful if you stick them at skills, because they're like they're flat better than like your standard party member. But overall, they're just not quite as useful. And after having played through the Xenoblade trilogy, I miss that. Like I miss having a party dynamic that carries you all the way to the end. Because it's the trilogy is a lot built more around the whole party rather than just one character. Like there's characters in the trilogy that are stronger than others. Looking straight at Future Redeemed Rex, who is just so much better than everyone else. Like that. Just quick side tangent to Future Redeemed, which is the DLC story to Xenoblade 3. So it's the most recent one compared to Xenoblade X Definitive Edition. Rex in that game he's a DPS character in that, and he inherits his crit build, his crit damage build from Xenoblade 2, and it scales so quickly that your two tanks, Shulk and Nicole, literally cannot draw enough aggro because you just do too much damage. It's hilarious because you just walk up, just spam the art of double spinning edge over and over and over again, because it just instant recharges, because it crits all the time, and you can have the beta where your crits recharge your art, so you just have the art instantly recharge, so you just turn into a spinning Beyblade, and you just do that until you draw too much aggro, because Shulk and Nicole can't draw enough aggro because they don't do enough, and you just do too much damage, and you're gonna either kill the enemy or just die. It's one of the two options, and it's so much fun. I love Rex in Future Redeemed. He's the best character in that. But anyway, it's outside of like him and Poppy Cutie Pie in Xenoblade 2, there aren't too many characters. Sorry, it took me back to like 3 years ago when I was playing that game. It's actually 4 years ago at this point. Maybe it was 3. I don't know, but it was so funny. Anyway, there aren't too many like just instant, or like there aren't too many instances of just one character being just outclassing everyone else in the trilogy, compared to Xenoblade X, where your player character just completely outclasses your party, and that is a little disappointing. It's still incredibly fun to play through the late game and whatnot. It's just I do, if they were to make a Xenoblade X2 and take a lot from the first game, I wouldn't mind if they keep the scales around, keep overdrive around and whatnot, and I'm fine with that. But I wouldn't mind a shift back more towards the party dynamic and how early game combat in Xenoblade X worked compared to the late game, because I think it's actually, in the long run, I think it's more fun, and it's just I think it just adds a bit more, it'll make the combat a bit more in depth. And it's not just it doesn't force you into trying to go for one of the really strong builds, which again are fun to play. It just, you just have to leave your party behind. And, for a game that has a lot of party members, it's 18, I think, or something like that. Just having them not really be all that useful in combat later in the game just is a bit disappointing. Anyway, that was a really long section. The story's fun. I'm not really sure where I want to go to next. The I guess I can just go with customization. So what's really fun in not Future Connected, but the Definitive Edition. I have so many terms. They have so many terms for different things. But anyway, the Definitive Edition I think added a. I feel like they had a dedicated fashion slot. I actually don't remember if the fashion slot was a thing. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I think it was, but I think they expanded on it a little bit. And like I've actually been doing a lot recently of like hunting specifically for, like trying to get all of the variants of all the armors, like cosmetic wise, to fill it out just for fun, which is going to take a while, but it's been fun. And just having like there's so many different armor sets, because there's like 7 different manufacturers, each have like 3 different, like a light, medium, heavy. So there's like, and then there's I think 6 different it might be 8 different rarity types. So there's take all of that and like for each, and there's 5 pieces of armor as well. So you get all of that for like the various different armor looks. So like each of them, like each not level rarity tier essentially. Like each tier of armor has like a different color scheme. And so I'm trying to get the color scheme, which has been fun. And yeah, that's cool. I think the combat thing was like one of my big things that I wanted to talk about, because I really, that's one of the things that I want to, it'll be interesting. It's one of the things I just really want to harp on, because I love it, but I also want to see more. Let's see. The characters are interesting. I can briefly touch on the characters. Do I want to touch on the characters? Actually, I don't know. But yeah, the party members are fun. The villain cast, I feel like the supporting cast is not the best. The main villain Luxor is he's okay. And then the villain of Chapter 13 Definitive Edition Void is also not super interesting. I will definitely touch on Chapter 13 here in a moment, because that is something. But yeah, the like outside like is what Luxor's okay. The whole Ganglion villain lineup is you just don't see too much of them, to be honest. Like the first like main one you meet is Guatia, who's basically the femme fatale with a squid head. The funniest shot in the world is like basically when you first meet her says in chapter 4. And you're like going to find a section of the Lifehold, which is the like main supercomputer that's keeping everyone alive. And you go and find a section. So it's like an archive section essentially. And you go and like basically she's there. She's like a Ganglion commander, and she's ordering her troops to destroy it. And the first thing you see of her is a freaking butt shot. And she's basically a very curvy alien. And like she's wearing like a bodysuit, and the bodysuit does not cover her legs or her butt. So you just get a shot of her ass. It's hilarious. It's like, why? Why do we need this? Like, I'm not complaining, but why? And so you fight her once, and then she goes away, and then she literally shows up one other time in chapter 7, and she shows up in a mech, so you don't even like see her, and then you just blow up her mech and she dies. She's not a very interesting character. Then you get like Reese and Dagon, who are like tiny little angry girl, and giant like pretty chill monster dude. And they show up to like attack NLA in chapter 7, or no, chapter 8. Yeah, it's chapter 8. And then there's also Gajarg, but I'll get to him in a minute. But yeah, they show up and you fight them like once, and they're kind of a threat, but then they go away. And then you fight them again in chapter 10 when they steal a giant Ganglion like mech thing. That's like a giant floating saucer that's like the size of a small town. And then you blow it up and then they die. You can kind of sense a pattern here. The only other interesting character on like the villain side, quote unquote, is Gajarg and the Rothians, who are like basically the Thundercats, who are like forced to work for the Ganglion because I don't remember why they're forced to work for them, but like the Ganglion like blew up their planet and then like pressed them into service as mercenaries. And then Gajarg, after like basically you fight them, and then Elva gives him like hey, you shouldn't be evil because you don't look evil. It's actually a pretty nice speech, but I'm just paraphrasing here. And then after Gajarg, he contacts Luxar and he's like, yeah, we're not working for it anymore. We're just going to be our own mercenary group. And Luxar is like about to throw a chair across the room. It's not just really funny. Like, for as much as Luxar is not very interesting of a character, his like angry reactions are hilarious. He's very funny when he's just pissed off. It's great. But otherwise he's just kind of boring. He shows up a couple times in cutscenes on his flagship when he's just kind of like yelling at people to do their jobs. And then he only shows up once to fight you in the final chapter in chapter 12. And he takes his super special mech to go and fight you. And then you beat him. And then he falls into the DNA goo and the life hold. And then merges with the traitor guy, voiced by Matt Mercer, spoilers, Lau. And then they become a big old chimera thing, and then you kill him, and then he dies. Luxar's not that interesting. But anyway, otherwise characters, because that's what I was on. The characters as a whole were fun. The party members are fun. Elma's cool. She's a cool badass. Lynn's a fun dynamic where she's, she's a kid because she's 13 years old, genius mechanic and whatnot. And so it's like, she's clearly pressed into, having to work as, a blade and having to do all the big combat stuff and all that. And she likes, she doesn't mind fighting. She loves Skell. She writes Skell fan fiction, which is hilarious. But it's clear that she's pretty naive. And there's definitely moments where her naivete is on display, but it's a good dynamic. Her, Lynn, Elma, and Cross are a good trio. And I won't go through all of the party members individually. I'm just gonna shout out Alexa because Alexa's cool. She's a big old Skell nerd, and she just is hyper autistic about skills essentially, and does not care anymore. Her quest line is hilarious, where she's basically a mechanic, a Skell mechanic, because she just loves Skells. She just thinks they're awesome, and I agree wholeheartedly because Skells are really cool. But there's a point where she's working with a couple other blades. She's basically assigned as a mechanic to these two Skell pilots essentially. I think there's 4 of them. She's essentially assigned as a mechanic to a squad, and there's 2 of them. I think Mia and Camber are them, and she's talking with Camber a bunch. Alexa is, and wants to talk to him all the time because, and she tells you that she just loves Camber's Skell. She just thinks the Skell is really cool and just wants to talk to him about it over and over again. Mia, who I forget if is actually Camber's boyfriend or not, or just is in love with Camber, gets really jealous of Alexa and starts secretly sabotaging all of her tests that she does. So it's her one of the missions is doing this whole big investigation, having to search around, and then eventually you find out it's Mia, and then you can, or it's not Mia. Mia's a different character. Mia's also a great character. Shout out her in a sec, but it's it's a name like Mia, but I don't remember who it is. It might be, I don't know. Anyway, but the girl whose name is not Mia, but something close to Mia, eventually, you confront her, and she's basically going on with the whole thing is yeah, Alexa, you're trying to steal my man and whatnot, and you're it's fine, yeah, I was jealous, but it's only jealous because Camber is paying far more attention to you than he is to me and whatnot. And Alexa's just laughing in her face, and it's I'm not interested in Camber, I'm interested in his Skell. And the girl who's not Mia, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, is oh, I have made a grave mistake, I'm sorry. It's so funny. And I love Alexa. She's probably my favorite, second favorite after Elma. Actually, she might be tied with Elma as my favorite character. Then one of the two. But also Mia, because I do want to shout out her. Mia might be my favorite quest line in the game, where she's basically this young hopeful girl trying to become a blade, and you have to buy her some equipment, starting equipment from the shop, and she's not officially a blade, but she wants to go and go out and explore anyway because she's full of adventure, and so she does. And so basically over the course of the story, because that quest you unlock is right at the start, and then over the course of the story you'll unlock more. You find her in Noctilum, and she's stuck up in a tree, really large tree, by the way. It's not it's not a small one. It's a big old tree. And then so you got to help her. Then you go to Oblivia, and she's gets captured by a bird. So you got to help her there. And then you go find her in Sylvalum and her skull's broken down. And then you find her in Cauldros and she's kidnapped by shape-shifting alien women named Divinians who have their own giant quest line. And eventually after you rescue her from Divinians and whatnot, she goes back and is able to show off all of her adventuring and whatnot, and to like one of the like veteran blades, and she becomes a blade herself, and then you recruit her as a party member. It's awesome. So like she is only available as a party member after like chapter 11, so she's a late game party member. But it's one of my favorite. It's definitely my favorite party member acquisition because it's more than just like your standard character quest, because it's like you see Mia grow as a person and you're helping her along the journey the entire way. Like you're spending a lot of time over the course of the game helping her, and you get rewarded with her as a party member, and it's awesome. And she's just fun because she's just really spunky, full of energy. She calls you Chief because she just thinks you're awesome. She's great. I love Mia. She's a ton of fun. So it's like I don't think there's a miss in the entire party, or like all the unlockable characters. Even some of the duller ones, like I think Bose, I know he's not everyone's favorite because he's a little xenophobic against like actual aliens, not like against, non like because I think he's from America, like he's not xenophobic against Japanese people or whatnot. Like he's xenophobic towards the actual aliens, which is he kind of gets over it a little bit. But anyway. Even some of the maybe less than interesting party members, they're still fun. Like they've still got some aspects to them that are interesting, and can like I think everyone there's someone out there that I think likes even someone out there I think likes Bose at least. I don't mind Bose, but anyway, yeah, I'll end it there in the party members. One who was I just had in my head. Who was it? Oh, yeah, HB. HB is the funniest one, where he is. I don't even think I can describe him. I don't think I can do him justice. He is superior to everyone. He's hilarious. He's so funny. But anyway, let me talk about chapter 13 here real quick to kind of wrap this up, because I have already talked for an hour and I don't really know how. There's a lot more I could talk about, I feel like, but I feel like I have said it a lot of times, but yeah, go play this game. It's really good. But yeah, chapter 13, I do want to touch on this because this is probably the most controversial thing at the moment. So originally when the game ended off, it kind of ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, but not sort of not really. There's a lot of unanswered questions essentially. And it's kind of a Monolith Soft staple. They do love being vague about things. Friggin' Xenoblade 3 and Future Redeemed are way too vague for their own good sometimes. But anyway. So when chapter 12, the original one, ends off, there's a lot of stuff in sort of the epilogue cutscenes that leave a lot of unanswered questions. And there's definitely, like, when in the subsequent years when they released art books and stuff and developer interviews and whatnot, there was more content that they wanted to add that they didn't get around to. That they eventually kind of repurposed into Chapter 13 Definitive Edition. But essentially, for Chapter 12, after it ends, one of the big reveals is there's two essentially big reveal things. So the first is that after the big final battle around the Lifehold, where it gets secured, like Luxar is dead, he gets defeated. Lao makes who betrays humanity because he's sick and tired of. Or like basically when the White Whale is happening, and like the project happening, all of the rich people sent their like themselves and their kids on board while leaving all the common people behind. Lao got brought on board because he was a really good sniper, but he couldn't bring his wife and kid on board because they just didn't make the cut. And so he was really resentful. And then he wound up selling out humanity to Luxar, but then wound up going back on the deal after you beat him down in chapter 11, and Ellen gives him a stern talking to, and Lynn also pleads with him as well. It was a whole thing. Lao ends up stabbing Luxar in the back, and then they fall together into the green DNA goop and then merge into the Chimera. That's what happens. But anyway, so after all that, Elma and some of the other Reclaimer crew go down into the depths of the Lifehold to verify that it's still all good. basically they go down to the server room essentially, because that's where like all of the consciousness of humanity, like everyone that's left, is supposed to be backed up to. With like the main chamber being the big old DNA thing that can like create new life essentially from the like DNA goop. And so Elma goes down and they break open the chamber and find that it has actually been flooded, and like it's offline, it's flooded and whatnot. It's just completely wrecked. And it's apparently been like that since they basically crash landed. So it shouldn't be possible essentially that anyone should be alive right now. Like their robot bodies, that the Mimiozones is what they're called, that they should be in, should not have function at all. But Alma basically, like the closing line is that it's like this planet, it's something about this planet. It's like there's something going on Mira that like we don't know why, but for some reason it's just kind of doing something special. Like it's also it's hinted at, or not really hinted at, but it's like it's kind of like touched on a little bit that everyone is able to understand each other, like all the different alien races. So humans, and then the Nopon, the Prone, the Rothians, everyone are able to understand each other on Mira perfectly fine, as if they were speaking their own language to each other. So it's like everyone, like all the aliens are talking English to each other. Like from a Nopon point of view, they're all talking Noponese essentially. And it's like just another one of the mysteries about Mira that no one is able to explain. So there's that. And then the other one was that at some point during the epilogue, it might have been after the that scene in the Lifehold, we actually for some reason shirtless Lau on a beach somewhere, and he's approached by what was known at the time as the Black Knight, essentially. I think it was Black Knight, essentially. Very mysterious character we didn't know, and it was quickly determined to be this like mysterious hero, essentially, that served on the on the White Whale, which is the ship that humanity escaped on, and we've never seen. We get hints about this mysterious hero a bit, mainly from Elma, because Elma fought alongside him during the initial conflicts against the Ganglion and then the Ghosts, which is the other alien faction that fought over Earth and blew it up, essentially. And it's basically the mysterious hero kind of got hyped up a bit because it's like, obviously he's mysterious, and there's like a lot of unknowns going on about who he is, and like why he's so mysterious, why does everyone hype him up to be this hero and whatnot. And there was a lot of questions going on. There is, in the art book, he had this like really cool looking skull that never got introduced. It was a whole thing. So that was like some of the big questions that we were hoping to be answered, and they did get answered. Well, the mirror thing never actually got answered, but the hero thing got answered in a way. So definitive edition comes around, and the chapter 13 picks up like almost immediately, I think, after like chapter 12. Like it's not long after, essentially. And pretty much what happens is that the Ghosts, which were the other faction, show up and start wrecking stuff. And when you go to fight the Ghosts for the first time, another skull shows up, and it is the Ares Prime, which is I don't really want to get into that, but it's the skull piloted by the mysterious hero. So you go and find him, and is revealed to be a man by the name of Alois Bertolt, or just Al. We'll call him Al. We'll call him Al Xenoblade. And it's the big reveal that he is the mysterious hero, and he is literally just a guy. Like he's just a dude, nothing special. He's just a guy. He's fun. I don't mind Al too much. I know some people don't like him because he's like he got overhyped, and he just turns out to be just a regular dude. Like he's good at what he does. He's a really good skull pilot and all that, but he's literally just a guy, and that's it. There's nothing. There's no reason to shroud him in mystery. He's just a dude. He is Al Xenoblade. What's poppin'? Anyway, so basically you team up with Al, and he kind of explains that the like stuff about the Ghosts. I honestly forget half the stuff that happens in chapter 13. But you get a lot of backstory on who Elma is, because spoilers, by the way, Elma is not human, she's an alien. And essentially The very long short of it is that the ghosts are like servants of this dude called Void, who was initially a Samarian scientist. So the race of Samar are these ancient aliens. I think Elmo is like a descendant of the Samarians. The Samarians created humanity actually, and then they also created the Ganglion, which are the mix of alien factions and whatnot. And then the Ganglion were initially created as sort of like servants of the Samarians, but then they kind of revolted against the Samarians, I think. And then humanity was kind of created as like a like safety valve essentially against the Ganglion, because they have like something, like humanity is like something in their DNA that can do something to the Ganglion to like do bad. I don't know exactly how. It's kind of like mumbled a bit by Luxar here and there. But essentially that's why the Ganglion hate humanity, is because they're like present an actual threat to them and whatnot. But anyway, the ghosts of the other one, so they're like a hive mind or something. I don't even know how the ghosts operate, but eventually, so Void is like the Samarian scientist. He's studying. Not stuttering. Why did I say stuttering? He's studying this thing called, I actually don't remember which term they call it, but this thing called the conduit or the Zohar, depending on which Xenoblade game or Xeno game you played, because reoccurring thing, basically this big old like chunky cross, is the best way I can describe it. That's this like super powerful entity thing, material that shows up a bunch, and he was studying it, and then he got like, I don't even remember how exactly, but he basically got expelled by Samar society. He got like sent to the Shadow Realm, and then he allied with the ghosts and like started using the ghosts to like try and recapture the conduit. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was something along those lines. And now he's come back to try and capture Al and the Ares Prime, because it has like these cores necessary to do something. It's the chapter 13 is got its issues, but eventually you go and fight Void in his like homeworld, and you beat him. Al gives him this like really funny like reason to suck speech, to quote TV tropes, where it's like Void's like trying to figure out like how to die essentially, because he's like in like perpetual or like he's grown so powerful and like so omniscient that he's like, what even is pain? What even is death? I'm like so ready to be over with anything. And I'll just like then perish. Like you, like he gives him the like low tier god. Like you need to like that. I forget exactly what you would call that speech, but it's that low tier god speech. It's really funny and like really out of left field. It's just kind of hilarious. But anyway, one of the big reasons why chapter 13 is so controversial is that basically when Void shows up and starts doing his like Void ghost thing, he creates a bunch of like annihilation events, essentially what you want to call them, similar to Xenoblade 3, that essentially just kind of turns things into, it's like antimatter turning things into nothing. And he basically threatens to blow up the planet, or like just consume the entire planet. And that is literally what happens. Like Mira just gets gobbled up by Void. And you have to go fight him in like his own like home dimension essentially, and leave Mira behind. And that's what pissed off a lot of people actually. I'm not the biggest fan of it either. I'm okay with leaving Mira behind at this point, because I think the Monolith Soft is wanting to go in a different direction. But it still sucks that leaving behind a planet that has still had a ton to offer, and a lot of questions left unanswered. But yeah, you just like Mira's just gone at this point in the story. There and like no real answers to the questions either. It's just kind of gone, and whatnot. But basically, everyone kind of loads up on a ship controlled by the Manon, which are another alien race that you save, and they call it the White Whale 2 because they refit it with a bunch of like multiverse travel drives. And one thing that is interesting, at least, I don't know if this is where they're going, but I will, because I think otherwise chapter 13, it's a lot of talking with Al. Like he actually winds up, let me actually, before we get to the end of chapter 13. So Al winds up, basically the reason why he wasn't around was like, he got like flung through the multiverse at some point, I think. And it was a point where like he glimpsed like other universes and wound up seeing like clips. Basically he saw clips of Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 happen. So it's like, it's confirmed that Xenoblade X, which originally was basically just agreed to be its own separate continuity, is now, I mean, again, it's multiverse stuff, so it's, it could have always been connected, but it's like now officially like has a connection of a sort to the other 3 games, the main line, the trilogy essentially. And I guess during his multiversal adventure, Al went to some like weird afterlife purgatory thing and found Lau there, and they had like a talk because I guess they were buddies for a bit. And that's what the like winds up becoming the scene where like with the Black Knight and Lau on the beach winds up becoming Al just talking with Lau for a bit, and then I guess Lau like gives him some words of advice and like sends him back to is able to like get him back to the main reality that he was from to like meet up with everyone again at the start. And like it was a little weird, but it is what it is. Anyway, the end of it, because I think that's where we're going to go. So after defeating Void and getting ready to jump into a new dimension, so they do that essentially, and they approach this like new world as like the credits roll essentially. So the final cutscene is that, and it's kind of big blue world and whatnot, and on its own, it's a nice little happy ending for the crew because they were able to escape the destruction of Mira. They got everyone back. They're going to a new world and whatnot, and they don't have to worry about being pursued, hopefully, by anyone from their old life anymore. Like all the threats are eliminated at that point. However, this is where things get interesting, because this is not confirmed. This is a theory that has been going around, but knowing Monolith Soft, this is good chance this might be true. There's been no announcement or anything like that on a new Xenoblade game. I know there's been talk of Monolith working on something big over the past like couple years or so, and presumably they're working on something Xenoblade related because it has been making bank for them. I know that. But we flashing slightly back to the end of Future Redeemed. So Future Redeemed is actually very quickly touch on Xenoblade 3 story, very, very quickly. So, okay, so this is going to spoil a lot for the trilogy. This is a lot of, like, again, it's spoilers, but spoiler for the trilogy. So very, 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 very quickly, before everything happens in the trilogy, story-wise, we go to, I guess, Earth, maybe. I think Earth. Pretty sure it's Earth. And Earth is like in a war or something, and there's like rebels and stuff, and on a big old like space elevator up to a space station, there's a guy called Professor Klaus who has the conduit with him, and he tries to create a new world with it. And he presses a button, and he's like, we'll see the birth of a new universe or whatnot. And it's like, anyway, he presses the button and things go wrong. Basically, the original reality kind of goes kaput for a bit, and Klaus himself splits into 2 different beings, and 2 different realities form in Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2 essentially. So Xenoblade 1 happens in one reality, Xenoblade 2 happens in the other reality. They happen at the exact same time. So the stories of 1 and 2 converge at the same time with basically when Shulk kills Zanza, who is the final boss, who is one half of Klaus, and he's basically the evil half of Klaus. The good half of Klaus in the Xenoblade 2 world dies as well, and that's basically around the same time Rex is fighting the final boss Malos in Xenoblade 2. After that happens, it takes like 15, 20 years or so, but basically the 2 worlds the 2 dimensions more so, start to re-merge. But as they do, it's found that when the 2 like materials from the 2 dimensions come into contact with each other, they basically form one of those annihilation events, form like a big old ball of like antimatter energy, and then it just turns into nothingness. So the basically the parties from both 1 and 2 kind of like multiverse Zoom call each other and devise a plan to basically create a giant arc called Origin that will like form together when the 2 dimensions merge, and it'll like basically it's the same exact thing as the Lifehold, where it will like hold all of their consciousnesses and stuff to like then rebuild once, like in theory, the worlds remerge, but like all of the like stuff. Anyway, it basically it's the failsafe protocol. When that happens, essentially, right when it merges, like all of humanity's fears and like anxieties and dread and whatnot manifests in an instant into a being known as Z or Zed in the dub, like the English dub, because it's it's British and they call Z Zed. he forms and basically stops time and creates his own like pocket dimension called Ionios, which is where Xenoblade 3 takes place, and creates what is known as the Endless Now, because he's fearing the future and whatnot. He doesn't want to die, doesn't want to go into the unknown and all that. So he wants to stay in the Endless Now, and that's why the world of Ionios is just this mishmash of set pieces from Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2, because he's just taking all the data that he has of the two dimensions and mashing them together into this new world, then using like all of the people that have been like uploaded to Origin as basically child soldiers to then like fuel this like never ending war, because he just wants entertainment, because he's a drama kid for some reason. Like, I don't know why like all of humanity's fears manifests into a drama kid, or like a theater kid, but sure, why not? I'll take it. But that's why, like, so Xenoblade 3 is like this endless war fought between these like child soldiers who are like, a lot of them are descendants actually of characters from characters who had existed, like, and a lot of the adults just aren't there and whatnot. But anyway, I'm not gonna really go any more into that. So events of Xenoblade 3, like story wise, will take place over untold amounts of time. Like, it is an unknown amount of time since when Origin popped together and everything happened to when the actual story of Xenoblade 3 takes place. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's thousands of years at that point. Like, it is in this pocket dimension. But anyway, to get back to Future Redeemed, to actually get back to what I was saying. So Future Redeemed takes place, I think it's like 500 or so. It's like centuries before Xenoblade 3 takes place, the regular game, the base game. So like end of Future Redeemed, like in the epilogue stuff, as it's kind of showing more towards a glimpse to the future. I think it actually goes back to showing the main cast, like after everything is done and done, but it's only revealed in Future Redeemed. But anyway, it's showing, I think, the main cast of Xenoblade 3, or at least some of them, in the new world. I forget exactly how. Let me actually, I might actually pause this, go double check to make sure I'm not getting this wrong, and come back. For you, it's going to take, half a second, but for me, I just want to triple check to make sure I'm getting this. Okay, we're back. I'm back after watching the credits again. So I was off by a few things. I think I was actually thinking of a piece of art, like fan art or something. But so the actual thing is what happens. So it's playing during the credits, and the credits are showing a bunch of stuff. And it's like right after the credits end, it shows the like two worlds reforming back into one. And if you remember, so just to flashback slightly to what I was talking about at the end of Chapter 13 of Xenoblade X Definitive Edition and Future Redeemed, when it's showing the worlds of Xenoblade 1 and 2 forming back into one, it forms back into a big blue planet. And right at the end, there is basically a glint of light, like kind of like a star, but it's moving kind of towards the planet. And at the time, it didn't really mean anything. It was kind of like, it looked cool. Maybe it symbolized something. Who knows? Now, with Chapter 13 in X Definitive Edition showing the white whale coming towards a big blue planet, it could be that. I would flip out in the best way possible if that was the case. I don't know why they would bring the X crew together with the trilogy crew, but I would not be complaining in the slightest. I'm someone who loves fan service. That's why I love Future Redeemed, because it was just pure fan service. But yeah, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but if it did, oh, that would be so cool. But yeah, it's like, I don't know why it's so specific about that. It's got the glint in Future Redeemed, and then it's the white whale 2 going to another planet, like blue planet, looks kind of the same. I don't know. It could be fun. It could be it. I'm kind of hoping it is. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of hoping it is. But yeah, anyway, I think that might do it for this episode. I've talked a lot already about why I love this game. Yeah, so to eventually go back to the opening bit that I did, this game's just so much fun because there's just so much to do. Because the characters are fun, the story's fine. I don't mind the story; it's just not quite as good as the others, but it's still fine. The world is awesome. There's so much to do. I haven't even really gotten the loot system, actually. Let me just briefly touch on that. Like, just the fact that like there's so many different enemies, and like it kind of incentivizes you to go out and like actually take down new enemies, and like higher level enemies because they might have something good to drop. Like, you might want to try like go like you're level 15, go try taking down that level 19 giant 4-legged creature that's standing over there. You might have a good set of armor, could have a weapon, who knows. And just the amount of like different attributes your stuff has, different traits and whatnot, different things you can upgrade. There's just so much there that it's like you don't need to just run past all the enemies because fighting, I mean, well, A, you don't like fighting's fun, so like you shouldn't be running past enemies. It's fun, but B, it's like they could have something good. So it's like it incentivizes going out and picking fights, which is, you know, for an action combat RPG, makes sense why you'd want to do that. And that's not to say the other games don't do that. They do. I just feel like Xenoblade X has the best, the most rewarding, I feel like, out of any of the games, compared to the others. But yeah, also the soundtrack. One last thing is the soundtrack. I think I'm making this my last thing. I am cutting myself off here. The soundtrack, like every Xenoblade Chronicles game, is outstanding. This one was done by Hiroyuki Sanado, or Sawano, maybe? Yeah, Hiroyuki Sawano. I was at Hiroyuki Sanada, but he's an actor. He's great. Go watch him in Shogun. Shogun is awesome. I want season 2 to come out of that show. But anyway. Also, I need to see Mortal Kombat 2 when that comes out because he's Scorpion in that, and it's great. But anyway, sorry, sidetrack. My brain is. I had a long day at work today. But yeah, Hiroyuki Sawano does the soundtrack of Xenoblade X. I know he's also done the soundtrack for Kill la Kill, so if you love that anime, you'll love his soundtrack here. It's really good. I know some people don't like it a lot. I do. I think it's really fun. It's a bit different, like with the entire game. It's a little bit different vibes-wise compared to the others, but this game, like with all of the Xenoblade Chronicles games, have just a banger soundtrack, and I cannot recommend enough. And like I've said a number of times before, I cannot recommend this game enough. Please go play this game. I want more fans of this game. I want a Xenoblade Chronicles X 2 as well. It's so good. It's my favorite game of all time. I don't think there's going to be one that beats it unless, you know, Xenoblade X2 that could beat it. But I don't think there's anything that's going to be the same. It's like, I feel like every time when I'm playing a game that's kind of similar to it, it's like I'm playing an MMO. It's like I could be playing Xenoblade X right now. It's like, it gives me similar vibes, but the combat's not good. Like I constantly try and look for games similar to it that has like the scale, the like openness of it, the like rewarding, the fun combat, the intuitive combat, the rewards, the characters, and just nothing comes close. Like not even the other Xenoblade games, like just like quite scratch the itch that Xenoblade X does. And I know it's like, I'm not everyone. Like everyone has different preferences, but you know, if you're looking for a game that has a ton of player freedom, a massive world to explore that isn't entirely shallow. Like there's still a good bit to do around each of the continents. A ton of variety in like your enemies and in the world and your characters, and your combat. Like you don't need to limit yourself into one build. Like even for the end game stuff, you can basically build it with any weapon type pretty much. It's really cool between the 16 weapons. And like good soundtrack, decent story, just cool visuals and whatnot. Like it hits everything, in my opinion, in terms of just what makes gaming fun. I think this game just hits all of it in stride. And yeah, I think that's all I can say. Go play Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. I think the dedicated Switch 2 version comes out for it on April 16th, is what I saw. But just go buy it now because it's still really good on the Switch 1 version. It's really good. Go play it, please. I beg you. Sorry. Yeah, that'll wrap this up. For real this time, I'll do the outro. So yeah, I I obviously have a YouTube channel, Henry the Host, all one word. You can find this podcast on here. You can find various other things that I do on YouTube. I'm going to be streaming Baltimore Orioles games as the season gets started. I'll be streaming opening day. And then after that, basically every Friday, because there's usually games played every Friday for the O's. Then I usually do gaming streams, usually Thursdays. I'm actually going to be doing, if you're listening to this, basically as the day comes out, next Tuesday, the 24th, I'll be streaming Super Metroid because I'm actually going to a cousin's wedding over the weekend, so I won't be able to stream as much. And then I'm also, like, this coming Thursday is going to be opening day, so I'm streaming that then. But I've been playing through Super Metroid. It'll be part 4. I've got to the... I just beat Phantoon, if you're wondering, so that's where I'm at right now. And so I'm going to be going back through Super Metroid on Tuesday, then opening day Thursday, and then it's going to get to my usual schedule of Thursday gaming, Friday Orioles the week after. For the podcast, however, just for those who are just listening to that, next I will also try and get out next Tuesday my NFL recap episode. I'll start with the AFC East there. And then Saturday won't be an episode actually next Saturday because I will be away for the wedding, obviously. I think that day is actually the wedding day. I could be wrong, but it's that weekend essentially. So yeah, no episode next Saturday for sure. And then after that, I will probably just do for that Tuesday another I might do. I'm not quite sure yet. I might do that for that Tuesday because I'm going to be transitioning from my sports episodes on Tuesdays into doing weekly recaps of the MLB, and I might just start doing that on that Tuesday, even though it won't be a full week. But I will also not forget to do the recaps of the divisional stuff for the NFLs, just the NFL. So I'll probably just have like another episode on like a Wednesday or Thursday as well. Anyway, that was a very long preview. Basically, just look forward to more episodes in the future. Usually on Tuesdays or Tuesday nights, Saturday nights, maybe a Thursday night in there as well, depending on how things go. But that will finally wrap things up for this episode. Just got the hiccups out of nowhere. That's fun. And thank you very much for listening. All right, I think we're good. Yeah. Thank you. I don't know why I'm doing this again. Thank you very much for listening.